And with the deadly attack in New Orleans, we could see changes in security for places and events in Shreveport and all across Louisiana. Now, Tom Oster has spent many years working at the Shreveport Police Department and retired as the Academy Director. He now works as a consultant to schedule law enforcement for major events in the area, like the Humor and Harmony Festival. Now, following the tragedy, Oster says that authorities will look and see how they can ensure this won't happen again.
Whether it's closing down streets, whether it's blocking with uniform law enforcement officers, whether it's using cameras, trailers, drones, whatever the case is, monitoring the outside areas for anything that's coming into your event area. Not just in New Orleans, but I can assure you that Shreveport Police Department, the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Department, Shreveport City Marshal's office, we're all looking at what happened down there, the tragedy that just took place, how to do the best we humanly can to make sure that doesn't happen in the events we have up here in Shreveport.
Oster says he expects some sort of change to keep the French Quarter safe in the future. And the terror attack in New Orleans has the entire state and nation on high alert. So joining me now in the studio is retired ATF and Secret Service agent Joe Mann. Joe, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Well, Landry declared a state of emergency to utilize all resources to keep the city and to keep the parish safe. So what does that mean as far as utilizing those resources?
Well, that just means making sure that everybody is in place. Utilizing everything that they've got I believe they brought in some National Guard, bringing in law enforcement agencies, not only local, but from outside of the state, and doing everything they possibly can to keep everything secure. As you know, we have many events coming up. We've got the Super Bowl, we've got the inauguration in DC. So for the state, it's just getting everything in place and just keeping everyone made aware that everything is going to be safe and everything's going to be okay.
From with your experience with your career, what are the next steps moving forward to make sure that everyone can stay as safe as possible?
Well, as I mentioned before this morning with Ms. Donna, was that just for people being aware of your surroundings. Knowing where you are. If you're going to an event, know where your egress is for an emergency if you need to get out and evacuate. But just know where you are. You can still go out and enjoy yourself. Know where you are, know your surroundings. You don't have to be nervous, you don't have to be afraid, just be aware.
So you're really stressing situational awareness at all times.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And it doesn't matter whether you're at church, whether you're at a grocery store, whether you're at a concert. Know where you are, know what your alternatives are in case something happens.
That's one concern that we've been hearing a lot is how do you balance the safety and how do you balance, living your day-to-day life, going through the day-to-day motions, like you mentioned, going to church or going to a store or even going to celebrate many of those big events you just mentioned.
Exactly. Know your exits. Just know everything that's around you and just be aware. You don't have to be, so nervous that it envelops your entire life. Just be aware of your surroundings.
What kind of changes do you think we're going to see in New Orleans as we go into the Super Bowl and as we gear up for Mardi Gras season? An incredibly busy time, especially economically, but when you look at the crowds of people that tend to cluster in the French Quarter, what kind of changes do you think we'll see going forward?
I think you'll definitely see more security, but I think you'll see maybe more barricades instead of the wooden barricades that we saw in New Orleans and on Bourbon Street. You might see the concrete barriers. Okay, you might see more of the bollards that are up that they put out with the spikes, on the roadways and such. And so that may show an increase.
Do you think we'll see a larger security and police presence on the streets as well?
I think you will see a larger security presence. You may see some drone activity up in the air. So a little bit of everything.
All right, so really situational awareness for everyone and just making sure that you are aware of what's happening around you. And if you see something, say something.
Exactly. See something, say something, but don't put yourself in a situation where you're just so overly paranoid.
All right, Joe, good advice. Thank you for joining us today.